Good evening, everyone, and welcome to One on One with Unc. Tonight, my guest, I have a very special guest. She is a true champion in the fight against domestic violence. She is the founder and editor of Scars of Survival magazine. And let me just show you a couple of pictures of the magazine. I mean, these covers are amazing themselves, and the stories that are told by the individuals. She provides that platform for them to share their stories with everyone, um, and she is an amazing lady. So, without further ado, and I hope I get the name right, Mrs. Sathya Callender.
Hello, hello. Thank you for
Hello,
having
hello,
me.
and thank you for being here. Now, did I get that stuff right?
It's Sathya.
Sathya.
Almost.
Okay, almost. And you would think that I hadn't heard it before, because I was, doing some research and hearing the people say it and how they, I guess, a couple of people butchered it. So I was like, I'll follow them. I won't do what the right people did. I'll follow the people that butchered it. But
It's okay.
again,
It's
thank you
okay.
so much for her being my guest. If you could, well, what what I've come up with is that
Mhm,
for the stages of your life, um,
mhm.
I broke it down into four stages, and you can let me know if I get this right. Um, Victim, survivor, overcomer, thriver.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning,
hmm
and we'll start. Let you tell your story.
So actually, well, first I want to thank you for having me on your platform this evening. It's definitely my honor and pleasure. Um, I would say that domestic violence for me started when I was about 6 years old. Um, I was molested by my babysitter's boyfriend. I actually that was the first time I appeared in court. I had to testify. He ended up going to prison. So that was actually the first time I experienced some form of abuse. And then fast forward, my mother married someone in the Navy when I was 8 years old. He turned out to be abusive. And so from the age of 8 until the age of 14, I witnessed my mom being abused from this man. And so my dad wasn't in my life at the time. So this man is actually who I saw as a father figure, and he was abusive a lot. I mean, he was more often than not. And so for 6 years, I witnessed that. And so um, after that, my mother ended up getting out of the marriage. I was going on with life. My mother was trying her best to be a mother. I ended up being a teen mom. I had my oldest son at 14 years old. Um, and so fast forward, I found myself getting into a domestic abusive relationship myself when I was about 19 because I was pregnant with my daughter. Um,
Okay.
and so I ended up experiencing a little bit of abuse then, physical and emotional and mental, and he was just controlling. But he was 12 years older than me. And so I think I kind of looked at him more of like a father figure than anything
Okay.
because he was so much older than me, you know. And so fast forward, I experienced it a little bit. I got out of that relationship and I went on with my life. And I let him back in my life in 2002. I ended up getting pregnant with my youngest son from him. And when we connected again, he told me he changed. He wasn't the same, and I believed him. And so I allowed him back in my life. And when I allowed him back in my life, he became abusive again. So it started off with the control, and then he was verbal, and then he was emotional, he was mental, and then it became physical. And at one point, it was so bad that he almost took my life. Um,
Wow.
and so through the 9 years of me going through that with this man, he was always apologizing after the fact and saying that it wasn't going to happen again. And I loved him and wanted and thought he loved me. And I wanted it so much to work out, that I believed him and said, okay, well, maybe this is the last time. And so
Hmm.
it would be okay for a couple of weeks. And then it was back to the same thing again. The physical, the emotional, all of those forms of abuse. Um, and so I was actually in bondage. He took my self-esteem away, all of that. And so I used to hear a lot of, nobody wants you, you have 5 kids, or,
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm the best thing for you, and I started believing it. Not only that, but I had a rocky relationship with my mother. So he used that as a crutch. So he would always throw that up in my face too. Like, your mother doesn't love you, your friends are not your friends, they want me, all of this stuff. And I believed it, and so he had me in such like a I would say bondage, and isolated me from everybody. And so at some point I felt like he was all I had. And so for
Right.
all of those years, mentally, that's what I thought. I still went to work, but the money was never mine. I would work, but then he would take the money. And so work became my safe haven, literally. So a lot of my coworkers didn't know I was even in an abusive relationship, because when I went to work, I was happy go lucky. You know,
Right.
I
You learn how to hide it.
yeah, I did. I wore a smile on I wore a smile. And so my coworkers didn't know until years after the fact, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were dealing with abuse." Yes, I was dealing with abuse. The only time I saw joy in going home was because of my children.
Right.
But other than that, I stayed at work. I did overtime, all of that, just so I can prevent from being home,
Going home.
literally. Hmm.
And a lot of times, in talking to other people that have been in that situation, I know for me, I used to say, well, why don't they just leave? Why not
Hmm.
just, okay, they're doing this, why not just pack up and go, and you know that you don't like it. But what I've learned is that it because it doesn't start that way,
Right.
because there's the good times and all of that stuff, and then you figure that other part is just an anomaly.
Hmm.
It's really just a blip on the screen, and so then they start to tell you all of these things about you that, like you said, nobody wants you. I'm the only one for you. Your friends, they're not your friends. You can't trust them. I'm the only one you can trust. And
Hmm.
so, they've already broken you. So now they worked you, and now it's like, okay, I got them right where I want. And also, what I found is that you're not the first one.
Right.
They have
It's true.
they've done it before. They
Hmm.
did a dry run, and to see how it works, and then they perfected their skill, which is crazy to me, but that's pretty much how that goes. Um,
Well, I notice a lot of times too, it's sometimes they've actually gone through it themselves.
yes,
They've gone through some type of abuse, and it becomes like a learned behavior. I know for him, he dealt with a lot of abuse coming up. He was actually in foster care and different things like that. So I'm not sure if that's what like triggered it or caused him to be that way. But I know that he went through some stuff as a child.
okay,
And a lot of times that's what happens. It becomes like a learned behavior. Well, this is what I'm used to seeing. So this must be how I'm supposed to be as a man, or as a woman in some situations,
right,
because, there's some
yes,
women that are abusive too.
yes. I've heard, and a lot of times men don't come forward because
Right.
they're men. We've always been
Mhm.
taught that we're the strong ones. You're not supposed to cry, or you're not supposed to show any sign of weakness. And once you do that, once you come out and say, "Hey, this is happening to me," you think people are going to look at you funny, but you don't understand that there are people that are going through that. And so when you tell your story, and it's like anybody else, when you tell your story, somebody may hear it and be like, "Oh, I'm not the only one." So
Right.
now I can come forward. So it's it's kind of crazy how that works. Especially for men, but there's no excuse for anybody doing that. And but to all just say you need to leave, or why not just go. You have to be and have been in that situation to truly understand
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Or you have to have empathy for these people, and do your research, and
Mhm.
understand that it's just not that simple. Because if it was that simple, then I'm quite sure that they just go. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people stay in that situation for various reasons, Um it can be children, you know,
Mhm.
not realizing that you're doing more harm to your children by staying in that
Yes.
type of relationship. But also finances, some women or even men, have become so dependent on that partner, that they don't know how to make it on their own. So, the best thing for them is to stay in that situation. It can be, they're being threatened. Maybe
Mhm.
him or her is threatening that they're going to harm, that person, or maybe the family member, or family members. So it's a lot of different reasons why people don't just up and go. But
Yes.
on the other side, if you haven't experienced it, it's not good to just tell somebody, well, why don't you just leave? Because telling them to just leave is only going to cause them to you know they're
Mhm.
gonna stay even longer.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
best just to be a listening ear and let them know
Mhm.
that you are there for them, and that there is resources to help them.
Yes. Yes. Just want to say hi to my one of the people that came in, Mr. Wise. How you doing? Thank you for coming through. Now we're going to fast forward to Survivor. You've figured out that, hey, okay, when did you reach the rock bottom? Oh, got some technical difficulties. Are you still with me? And already, she'll be right back with you. Well, that's good, Mr. Wise.
Okay,
I'm glad you're doing. Oh, there you are.
there I am. um
Okay.
I was saying, for me, my children had started sleeping with knives underneath their pillows, so they were actually
Whoa.
plotting to do something to him. And
Okay.
so, for me, it was okay. Am I going to continue going through this cycle and something happens to my children? Somebody goes to jail, prison. I had to make a decision at that point. Like, okay, enough is enough. And that was
Right.
actually my breaking point. It was my children. Um,
Okay.
if it wasn't for them, I might have not even been here today,
Mm.
because he was very, very violent.
Wow.
Very violent.
Well, glad you decided to make that move. Otherwise, the
Mhm.
people that you are helping now would not have you,
Yes.
to help them. So that I'm glad you made that move. So once you decided to leave, and I'm sure you see it in the movies where they got all the bags packed and they're just like, vroom. But I'm sure that it wasn't quite like that.
Yes. I look my having all kind of technical difficulties, but it's okay. Um, he actually had witnessed me experienced me going through that
Hmm.
abuse. He actually was on the phone a few times. And so he said to me one day, if you don't do something about it, I am. Like, this is unacceptable. You shouldn't be dealing with this kind of thing. And so when I got to that point, I was ready to go. I reached out to him and he helped me and the kids get to a safe place. Um, our friendship eventually turned into, um, us getting married. But even through that, I tell people too, like, when you're coming out of a toxic relationship,
Hmm.
you need to give yourself time to heal. Because if you don't give yourself time to heal, you're going to become toxic.
Right.
Right. And so
Yes.
I literally did not give myself time. I jumped from a toxic relationship into a relationship. And I was trying to heal from that toxic relationship, was trying to love someone and trying to accept the love, and it was just a mess. And I became
Yeah.
toxic. And so
Mm.
I tell people all the time, give yourself that time to heal. Give yourself the time, like, love on yourself, date yourself. Um, because if not, you're gonna be toxic. And
Right.
that person just might be good for you, but because you're going through whatever you're going through, you might end up, running them off or whatever the case may be. And in that situation, he ended up abandoning me and the kids, and left us in a hotel and kept going. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I tell people all the time, just give yourself that space and that time that you need to heal. Do not try to jump into another relationship talking about a rebound or whatever,
Hmm.
whatever the case may
Yeah.
be, because that rebound is not going to work. I'm here to tell you, it's not going to work. You better date yourself and love yourself and all of that, those wonderful things. Give yourself time to heal, find out what your purpose is, start walking in your purpose, you know, um, uh, gain a closer relationship with God or whatever your belief is. Like, get closer to God. Do all of those things before you talk about getting into another relationship, because it's
Yeah,
not going to
because
work.
it's like, yeah, it's like going from the frying pan to the fire. It's like,
Yep.
they're both hot, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not giving yourself time to learn you and what your your situation, and just getting rid of all that, like you said, get rid of all that toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're taking it with you, and you're bringing all that stuff into this new relationship, and you haven't dealt with it, and they don't understand. They
That's
try
correct.
to, and then it becomes overwhelming, and they don't know what to do. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
they care about you, but they just don't understand. And so,
So true.
as you say, it turns it, he ended up just saying, okay, I can't do this, I'm out. It's like, okay,
It
I
was
don't.
definitely a mixture of stuff, but I can say, between the both of us, but I can say that, I did become toxic
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't give myself time to heal. You
Right.
know, it even during my marriage, like, I started my healing process. I was going through, but I was still toxic, like, at the beginning.
Right.
I ended up, through all of that, that's when I actually became a survivor, and then I overcame. While I was in that situation, I was able to forgive my perpetrator. The first time he apologized to me and the kids, I didn't forgive him. I couldn't even stand to hear his name.
Right.
And I knew then that I was still dealing with, all of what I had went through and all of what my children had went through. But at some point in that process, my mother said to me one day, how can you expect God to forgive you if you don't forgive? And that thing really hit me because I really thought about it. And I said, well, that is true. I said, how can I expect God to forgive me if I don't forgive? Not for him, but for me. And so I actually had to go through that, and I
Yeah.
eventually forgave him. It took a while, but I did open up that door. Like at that point, that's when I can say that I overcame all of that because I was able to forgive, and that is part of that process,
Yes.
And then after overcoming, I was able to start find my own nonprofit organization for domestic violence. I started sharing my story with other individuals that were going through it or had survived themselves. And then fast forward, I end up, God had gave me the vision to start the magazine. And June 2020, I started the magazine because I wanted, survivors to have a safe place to share their
Okay.
stories of inspiration and share their stories of triumph. And that's how Scars of Survival magazine started. And now I'm thriving. So,
Okay. Now, before we get into the magazine,
mhm.
there's this thing I heard, diaper cake diva.
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Who?
Listen, I've been called the Diaper Cake Diva, and I can officially say I'm the Diaper Cake Diva too.
Now,
Um,
what is a diaper cake?
so okay, Diaper Cake is this you you create it out of diapers, right? And it's a gift
Uh-huh.
that you give the expectant mother um during her pregnancy, whether you're going to a baby shower or she, even if she had the baby.
Hmm.
But it's a creative gift that you give to the mother, and it's made of diapers. So Cutie Patooties Gift Boutique is how it all started with the diaper caking back in 2000 and, let me think, I think it was 2016. I was Google searching and I saw a diaper cake and I was like, what is this? Like, I never saw it before. And I started doing my research and learned that, it's something that you give expectant mothers. And so I said, oh my gosh, I was a military wife at the time. And I said, this will
Hmm.
be cool. I said, I know a lot of military wives would want to, purchase or invest in this. So I learned how to make it. Um, and I set up a eBay account. I was selling on eBay and didn't realize how in demand it was. And it just took over me. Like literally took over me. And I was like, okay, maybe this wasn't a good idea. Let me stop. So
Right.
I was making a lot of cakes on eBay and even for the military community. Fast forward,
Hmm.
I came up with Cutie Patooties Gift Boutique, and this is before I learned all the ins and outs about having a business. I thought just because
Right.
I had a name, I had a
You
business,
had a
but that's not
business.
true, and that's another subject for another day. So, so
Okay.
fast forward, I was diaper caking, and then when I would, well, it wasn't a business because I didn't do everything to make it a business. So I would say it was a
Okay.
hobby, but mentally I thought it was a business. But
Of
it's more
course.
to it than just having a name. You have to
Hmm.
get your EIN and do all of that stuff. And
Oh
so
yeah.
fast forward, I was still diaper cake. When I ended up in the hotel is when I partnered with Walmart. And I partnered with Walmart, and I was able to be a supplier for the website. And I was getting
Oh.
orders back to back, even with Walmart.
Okay.
But I took the diaper cake creation to another level because most of my competitors, they were only making one style
Hmm.
cake. But what I was doing was I was becoming diverse and I was creative. So if you
Uh-huh.
came to me and wanted a diaper cake, most of my customers will never want the same cake. They would tell me to freestyle. So freestyle meant
Okay.
Sathya, use your vision and come up with something creative. And that's what I did.
Mm.
And so I made cakes out of receiving blankets. I've made them with clothes attached. I've made baskets. I've made uh teddy bears. I've made carriages, all kind of things.
Wow.
I just
It's
became
just
the diaper cake diva, the one that you can go to and get any type of diaper cake made.
okay. Okay.
And so that's it with the diaper cake. Hmm.
That sounds like an adventure, and I'm sure that we.
That listen, that's my first baby. It's Cutie Patoonie's gift boutique.
That
Hmm.
is great, because like you said, you start doing this and you come up with this crazy name, you got this creative name, and you're like, okay, I've got a business. But you don't realize that, wait a minute, what do you mean I have to pay taxes? Or what do you mean I need this EIN number? Or what is that? So you're like, okay, I guess I really don't have a business. But in the meantime, it felt good saying that, but once you got everything together, it was like, okay, now I know what I'm doing somewhat. And then I guess after that came the magazine, you know, those covers, oh my goodness. Every time I see one, I'm like, man,
Right.
I'm like, wow, your graphic designer is amazing. I know you had mentioned her name, and I don't remember what her name is, but she's good. I'm like, you have to have to do that. You have to have a vivid imagination, and it's something that you're like, you see something and you're like, oh, really? And you just, and next thing you know, whew, voila. But they're really nice. I'm really impressed with them. And I also understand that you are going global. It's not just in the United States, that it's about to be
So it was
international.
Cutie Patoonie's gift boutique.
Hmm.
It was the gift boutique. Thank you. Thank you. Cedra. Her name is Cedra.
Okay. She
Thank
is
you.
good at what she does. Yeah, we're having a little technical difficulty again.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, I understand you're
Think
about to
some
go.
internet.
You're about, yeah. Yeah, we're experiencing some serious.
Issues.
You still there?
Are you back?
Oh, I left.
Can you hear me?
It's like breaking up here and there. Sound like a robot almost.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can see you. Are you there?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you
Hel-
hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, here we
I can
go.
hear you.
Okay. Yeah, but what I was saying is I see you're about to go international with the magazine.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
He- Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Your it looks like your screen kept going in and out.
That's odd. I don't see anything moving. Everything seems to be.
It keeps like spinning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well
because
let's keep
you're
going. But
all right. Yeah, but what I was saying is that I see you're about to go into you're going international with the magazine.
yeah, so we actually are already a global. We do have some journalists that are out the country. We've already distributed to some individuals out the country as well. So we've definitely gone global. Um,
Great.
and now we're looking to work with a distribution company that is global as well. They're international.
Wow. Now, how does that work? I mean, I guess that'll be another story for another day. But the entire magazine thing, um, how did you put that together?
So I literally was in my house one day and I was thinking about it and I said, why is there not a publication for the domestic violence community? You know, we see magazines for entertainment, fashion,
Hmm.
all kind of things, but we don't see anything
Hmm.
for domestic violence. So I started Google searching and I did my research and I said, I can't believe this. There's no publication. So I began praying about it and asking God, is this something that I should be doing? And obviously it was because I had the vision. And so I reached out to a young lady who had a publication. And so I reached out to a young lady who had a publication and I paid her
Hmm.
I paid her to teach me how to write a magazine.
Uh-oh.
I for it to be quarterly,
I, okay.
but it quickly turned into being monthly.
Hmm.
It was just that much in demand, so it never
Okay.
became a quarterly publication. And so after launching, I would say maybe about 2 or 3 months after, I did my research and ended up partnering with Barnes and Nobles and Books a Million. And that just happened unexpectedly. Just by me making a bunch of phone calls, and to be honest, I don't even remember who I called. I was just
you
dialing
just
numbers. It
you
seemed
just
like,
you were just calling people like, "Hey, I got this publication. What do you think?"
But I ended up making that partnership with Barnes and Nobles and Books a Million. And then fast forward,
Okay.
we end up getting proclaimed by Fulton County. So every December 1st, it's Scars of Survival magazine appreciation day.
Okay. That's great.
So
I mean, you are
we've been doing a lot of great things. It's you know I did contact Barnes and Nobles, and they gave me
Mm-hmm.
distributed. And then when I contacted that person, then they connected me with somebody else, and then that person connected me to somebody else, and
Oh
then
yeah.
eventually it got to me. So it definitely was a process.
Now,
Hmm.
when okay, if someone had told you that this is where you would be, let's say
Can you hear me?
back in, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
If someone had said to you back in, let's say 2014 or so, that you would be where you are now, what would you have said to them?
Mhm.
When you were going through the 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 worst part of
There's no
your
way.
domestic violence
I
experience,
don't know anything about a magazine.
huh? Say again. Yeah, if they had said to you, "This is where you be," would you have believed them?
I I I literally, if you would have told me back then, this is where I would have been. No, no. You know what? I back then I didn't even know
Hmm.
the thought of being a business owner didn't even cross my mind. I actually wanted to get
You
into
you were actually
nursing,
trying to
and I
survive.
did get into nursing.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Being a business owner wasn't even something that crossed my mind.
Well, it turns out that you know
Mhm.
we say we go through these things in life
So
and we have these
I nursing was my thing, and I actually went to
hmm
school and worked at the same time until I finished school. So that was really where my heart was at back then.
well, it seems that you always had the desire to help people, and so you had to figure out a way, and life figured out a way for you to do that based off of your life experiences, and that's a great thing because you had to go through what you went through in order to be able to get where you are now, so that you were able to you're able to
Yes.
provide the platform for the people to share their stories,
Mhm.
and it's a wonderful
Right,
thing.
exactly.
I just love the covers. At some point, I'm going to get a copy of the magazines, but the concept and the things that you're doing are amazing. They're truly helping others, and I commend you for standing strong and walking in your purpose, and just towing the line and saying,
Thank you.
hey, you know what, this is where I am, this is what I'm going to do, and you had the
Thank you.
ambition, the drive, and the fortitude to say, okay, you know what, I went through this stuff, but it's not who I
Yes.
am. It's what happened to me, but it's not me. And it's a great thing, and I commend you for that. And also, I wanted to wish your hubby a happy birthday. Um, See, he turned 46, so happy birthday to hubby.
That's
And
right.
yeah, so
Yes.
I am so happy for you, and I'm also glad that I came across
Thank you.
the came across your magazine on Instagram, and I
Oh,
think if
thank
I'm
you. 46 a day.
yes,
Yes.
46.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Yeah, but I and now
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
if
Thank you.
I'm
I
not
have to I have to
mistaken,
let them know.
okay.
He's probably listening and
And also, if I'm not mistaken, and I hope I get this right, you're involved with Glam on the Go as well. I think I could be wrong.
46 young. 46 years
Yes.
young.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you involved with Glam on the Go as well? Oh yeah, we
Hello? 1 second.
okay.
Oh, hold on. Oh, let's see. It's still spinning.
Is meter spinning? Oh yeah, because I'm sitting here. Oh wait a minute. Oh yeah, I'm stuck in perpetuity. Let's see something. Yeah, my internet seems to be a little shaky too. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Hello. Hello. You hear me now? Yeah, I think we think I lost her. How you doing, G fam? Thank you for coming through. I appreciate you. Alrighty, folks. Well, I think yeah. I thinking that this may be it for tonight. I thank everybody that came in. I'd like to thank my guest, Mrs. Sathya Callender. She is the founder and editor of Scars of Survival magazine, a magazine that provides a platform for victims and survivors and overcomers of domestic violence to share their stories. Hopefully, I can get her back on again in the near future, and we'll have a better connection. So, um, I thank you, G, and I'll let Auntie know as well. So I'm going to say good night to everybody. Thank you all for coming, and I will see you all next week. And until then, know that I believe in you, believe in you too. Be happy on purpose. I'm out. Peace.